यंकरवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणेन मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। So, let's chant a few verses. Let's chant verses number 19 through 23 of the 5th chapter. Number 19. Ihaivatayirjitas sargaha ihaivatayirjitas sargaha yesham samye sthitam manaha nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te sthitaha na prahyeshyat priyam prapya no dvijjet prapya cha priyam sthira buddhir samudhaha brahmavid brahmani sthitaha bahya sarpeshu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham sabrahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddhaha shaknoti haiva yassodhum praksharira vimokshanat kamakrododbhavam vegam sayukta sasukhi naraha. Okay. So what we did last time was to complete the verses, the section of the verses from the fifth verse, fifth chapter, section of the verses 13 to 21. So the section 13 to 21 has to do with jnanam, knowledge, and knowledge which once appreciated and understood leads to ananda. Really, as we were discussing even in the previous class also, what really characterizes, this is something interesting to see, what characterizes the entire life of everyone is a quest for ananda, joy. And if you remember, I think we may have mentioned this, that the word Ishvara, which means one who is the overall boss. Isha means the one who rules, who bosses. It's called Ish. And Ishvaraha means one who is the total boss. So the Varat Pratyaya, Varach, means that one who is unconditionally the boss, because all of us are partial bosses for somebody, and others we are not bosses of. And so we are not total boss, but one who is a total boss is called Ishvara. And so we look at a total boss, there are two ways of controlling people or any situation. If you look at a bossism, there are two ways of doing it, two fundamental ways. There are others also, but two clear ways. So one is by force, and you keep some weapon, and to make sure, just like for example in prisons, the prisoners are not supposed to go outside, they are supposed to play inside this, and there are guards all around, and so this is one way to control. The other way to control, and by the way, Ishvara does control using this also. It's not as though it is all the second way, which I'm going to describe in a minute. The first way also is uses. Why? Because the fear of going wrong is there. And people just observe if... So both carrots and sticks are important. So the Ishvara also governs by stick also. But the more important thing to see in terms of Ananda is that the bossism expresses itself through a natural quest. You tell people this is how it is going to be. You just do it on your own. So, for the classical example is that of a magnet. The magnet does not force iron filings to cling to it. It just attracts them because of his force. And so similarly here also, with the reason why we are all standing up on the earth is because of the magnetic, otherwise we'd be floating somewhere else. But because of the magnetism of the force of the earth, we are staying close to the earth and we stand up. So similarly, Ishvara governs through Ananda. So the quest of Ananda is common to everyone. Everyone. And even a little, insect I was taking a shower in the morning, and there were a couple of spiders in this. And they were just, as soon as I turned the hot water on, and they were saying, "Oh my God, what's going to happen here?" So they all scrambled along to some corner where the water was not falling. And then they will make sure that I don't trample on them, because they could see me with my footsteps. And so I was observing them. I says, poor guys, it was just amazing. So you look at this insect. He's really looking for protection, ananda. All natural. Human beings, ananda. So really we are just controlled by, really speaking, we don't look for Ishvara, we don't have a love for God, we have love for Ananda. Natural love for Ananda. At every moment of our life, whatever we do is to just make sure. And the thing that we do not yet understand is that my own nature, which is the nature of Ishvara, because really there is only Ishvara. There is only one person, Ishvara. And we think it's me. That's me. That's my name, and I have a history, I'm responsible for my life, and so on and so forth. But really speaking, the person, the real person inside of me is Ishvara. Very much like when you are in a dream, you feel I'm in charge of my dream, I've got to do this. When in fact you are nothing but a projection of the reality. When you wake up, the dreamer is also gone, that was just a role that you played. And so, what I don't realize in the quest of Ananda is that my own nature, which is the nature of Ishvara, because Ishvara is the only one that is there, the very nature of myself is Ananda. This is the play of the whole creation. I think that the Ananda is something which is temporary. It comes and goes, and I have to look for it. I have to manipulate. In fact, this is what I do. I manipulate all of my life in such a way that I am happy. And I know very well that I'm not always happy. But I figure out some ways to negotiate through this treacherous life to just stay happy somehow or the other. And all the time not understanding that my real nature is joy. So the entire teaching of the Gita, the entire teaching of Shastra, Shruti, Smriti, Purana, everything is to say, please try to see that your quest, your current quest of Ananda is not correct. It is due to you are wandering around in reflections. Instead, understand what is being reflected. You are the one who is being reflected. Who is me? That me, the very nature, is Sat Chit Ananda. This is the knowledge that I have to really understand. So this was presented in the verses number 13 to the 21. And this is what is summarized in the 21. So let's look at the summary, the ending of the segment of 13 to 21. Bahya sparshesu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham sah brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Basically it is saying is that one whose mind is not engaged in external objects attains that ananda which is the self, the Atma. He whose mind is engaged in the meditation of Brahman attains lasting ananda. So this is what I was saying earlier also. So this is a very big thing, really speaking, I tell you. Not easy, not obvious, and so on. So just to give it another flavor, another reading of this is the following. So the life as we lead up to a certain point is to, as I was saying, manipulate the factors that gives me joy. Joy is everybody is naturally affected, naturally, no question about it, that everyone is looking for joy. What is fundamental in the entire universe is the quest for joy, as we were discussing with the spider and so on. But the fact is, how do I get it? Because I don't have joy all the time. Very rarely actually I have complete positive joy. But then I'm not sure how to do it. So this is a big thing. That after going around, trying out different things, I hope to be mature enough to realize that there is another source of happiness that I completely was oblivious to, which is to understand my real nature. Up to that point, I was not even, that's all I'm thinking about is how do I make sure that I have enough sweets. And so I have food and sweets and music and so on and so forth. My own self, I don't know. I'm just in the quest for enjoyment. That's all. What else is it about? What else do you want to know about myself? So here the introduction is, there is a lot to know about myself. Can you please suspend your headlong analysis of your experiences and observe the experiencer? And my mind immediately it becomes it protests. That's the word I was looking for. It protests. He says, "What are you doing? What about the experiencer? Everybody mad. Everyone else is looking at experiences, and you're looking at an experiencer. What is there to know? There's nothing much to know." Vedanta says, "Not so quick. There is a lot to know." And for a long time you protest and you doubt and you say there's nothing to be done. Or how am I going to do about myself? Nothing to be done. partially because you're tired, partially because you become a little wiser. This is why they say, we've said this many times before, all of our acharyas say that having some problems in life one should feel very fortunate about. Very fortunate, because it makes you turn away for alternatives. And if you have too many problems, then also you're so desperate you won't find it. If you have no problems, there's no way you can find it. But if you have pinpricks which are tiring, that is the best way to have a self-inquiry. Because I'm tired of this. What am I supposed to do? Then, if you're fortunate, this instruction is given. And he says, wait a minute, there is something you are overlooking, which is your own nature. If you do that, then you find an amazing things happen. This is what it is, this verse is summarizing. Bahya sparshesu asaktatma means, can you please for a few moments not worry about the way your current ananda comes to you, which is from outside? Can you please just pause and just listen to what is being done for your own good? Can you please do that? If you do that and you keep your sensitivity alive and your honesty, and your also another thing is your sense of patience. Here, Swami, on another book, Swami Maheshananji was commenting on this word called dhiraha, which I have commented here sometimes. I don't know about this class, but in one of the classes, the word dhiraha is a very important one, which is called dhairyam. Dhairyam, dhira means a kind of a courage. So the word dhiraha has two meanings in the Vedanta Shastra and in grammar. One is wisdom. The other meaning is courage. Wisdom and courage both are two meanings of what's called dhiraha. So here Swami Maheshananji gives a beautiful example. I read this recently. It just made a lot of sense to me. He said, here's what happens. Supposing you are going on a long journey walking. Let's say you're walking. And you're not sure how long this is. You are going to lose patience. So he gave this example, just stay with it for a second. He said, suppose there is a person who's walking, who's equally tired. So there are two people. There are two people. One person doesn't know how long the rest of the journey is. You've been going around, you're going to a temple. And the temple is not coming. It should be a big temple. Somebody said you will see it from a distance. And you're walking and nothing happens. So there are two kinds of people. One person knows that it is about 2 miles left. And the other person doesn't know it. You know what will happen? The person that doesn't know it, after a while, would lose patience. And he says, I am not going today. I'm just going to sit down. And I'm just going to, because I don't know how long it is. I don't know where it is. and I'm just going to sit down and just rest and perhaps go to sleep, and tomorrow we'll see. This is person number one. Person number two, who is a dhiraha. Beautiful example, I thought. Dhiraha has two qualities. One is, he or she knows that the temple has they walked like 10 miles. He knows there's 2 more miles to go, which will go up to maybe another 45 minutes. And therefore, because of that knowledge, he has the courage to go on. In Hindi, they say himmat. So himmat means that you have an enthusiasm. There's only 2 more miles left. It's another 40 minutes left. Let's go on. Why do I want to pause and just postpone it to another day? This is the word dhira. So now apply to the teachings here. See, if I don't know what the real source of my joy is, then I am not a dhiraha, and it has 2 consequences. One consequence is that I don't know how far do I have to go. Number one, lack of knowledge. The second one is that because of that, I lose my patience, and whatever comes along, I just go with it. My ananda is very topical. Instead of directing my life to really understanding the real source of ananda, I waste my time. Because wasting time, meaning not wasting in that sense, I am very busy with trivial things. So look at this is where when I saw this, I said, wow, what a great example this is. So there are 2 people, one that doesn't know how far the temple is, and therefore they lose the patience and they just say, I'm just going to sit here, I don't care. I've been walking the whole day, I'm very tired. Lack of knowledge resulting in lack of dhairyam. The other example is only a little bit more to go. It's within 2 miles, and therefore I'm going to continue going. So, bahya sparsheshu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham. Beautiful. He says, Lord Krishna says, that one who has the patience to say, I am not going to simply rely on symptomatic relief of ananda time after time after time. I'm going to go to the quest of what really is the back of this. Where does the ananda come from? Until you start inquiring seriously, you're not going to reach there. And it's a very beautiful thing, I can tell you personally, that really with the if you give yourself a chance, then your sense of understanding, of clarity, of discovery of yourself. You don't knock around doing different things. Because we all have limited emotional energy, and until we can direct it in the right direction, it's wasted. Just completely wasted. And so that's what he's finishing the section 13 to 21. He says, Saha Brahma Yoga Yuktatma Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. Brahma Yoga Yuktatma means the one who is endowed with a clear sense of yukta. Brahma Yukta means that the Ananda of Ishvara is my Ananda. I'm turning to that. This is not a religious kind of a thing, but a spiritual thing. This is the truth, that there is in fact one Ananda. There's only one person whose nature is Ananda, but it is covered. I think I gave this example. This is one of my, when I saw this was a very beautiful example. So it's not as though, so imagine a day in which the light is there everywhere. So it's not as though the light has to be created, it's already there, the sun is out and so on. But your room's window may be enclosed. You may find darkness. It's very possible, because you cannot say that how can there be dark, how can there be light everywhere? Because I don't have any light. So you cannot say that there's light everywhere. So similarly you cannot say that the very nature of Ishvara is Ananda. Ananda is everywhere. You cannot say that, because I don't experience Ananda. That is because I am covering up the Ananda through my ignorance. I am enclosing the light of the sun through my windows closed. This is a big thing. Very big thing, because why is it big? That I don't have to generate light. All I have to do is to stop blocking it. This is the beauty. That really is, what a creation. That I am the Ananda, but I don't have to create it. And I feel like I have to create it. By having good experiences, I have to create it. But in fact, it is already there, and if I just stop blocking it. And so some of these reasons why I block it, how I block it, will be given in verse number 22 and 23 in a minute. But this is the sense of it. So he says, Saha Brahma Yoga Yuktatma. You just turn to yourself, means you turn to Ishvara, really speaking. And then you begin to see that this Sukham, this Ananda, is Akshayam. It doesn't go. It does not observe the same laws as, the rest of the Ananda, how it just slips away from my hand, how vulnerable it is, how difficult it is to maintain, all of those kinds of things. How fleeting it is. But here, it's a steady source, which is, how can you be any different from who you are? So that's what it says, Sukham Akshayam Ashnute. So anyway, so this is the section of the teaching which culminates in the fact that here, all these kinds of things, iha eva tai ajitaha sargaha yesham samye sthitam. So samya buddhi. And na prahyesh priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya apriyam, sthira buddhi sammudaha brahmavid brahmani sthitaha. All of these are talking about the same thing. Now, having finished that section, so one other comment which Swami Paramarthananda made, and I think is worth talking about, is The name of the chapter is Sannyasa Yoga, or sometimes called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Karma Sannyasa Yoga. So here, please make a note of it. Sannyasa normally means to become a renunciate. Yeah, that's what sannyasa means. Well, that means that you have a lifestyle where you have renounced family, your name, a new name is given to you, etc., etc. This is what is called sannyasa. Here, however, the word sannyasa yoga means an inner renunciation. The real renunciation is really inner renunciation. Even the outside renunciation that you see in the Swamis and so on is to accelerate and approach the inner renunciation. And so if there is a sadhu or a sannyasi rather, who has taken the outside sannyasa, but he still has attachments to things outside, is not a real sannyasi. Not a real sannyasi. This is what Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says, is that you don't need outer sannyasa to get inner sannyasa. It actually helps. Certainly it helps, no doubt about it. That if you are a householder, then you have some duties to take care of, which may interfere with your study. Not necessarily. Through karma yoga, you can convert that into a lifestyle of renunciation also. But generally speaking, yes, people with outside renunciation are in a better position to attain inner renunciation. But doesn't make any difference. Both of us have to have inner renunciation. What do you mean by inner renunciation? What we mean by that is the firm ascertainment that ananda does not come from out. I don't have to manufacture ananda. I have to reveal my own ananda. That also is not easy. Not easy. It just takes a lot of commitment, a lot of patience. But that is the direction I should go. And I should do it soon. In fact, in verse number 32, it says, Prak Sharira Vimokshanat, means you don't have much time. You get started, otherwise you'll have to waste another life. You'll be born again with the same kind of a thing. Every time you are born, now you're first of all a little baby. You have no idea what's going on. Health problems. Then you go through identity crisis when you're a teenager. Who am I? What's am I doing? Then you study. And then all kinds of issues. And to become an adult in charge of your own life is a very short period. Short period before the diseases come in and your body starts to decay. Very short period. So he says you better get going on this, because this is what you have to do. This will come in number 23 in a minute. But anyway, the inner renunciation means to understand that ananda is not to be manufactured, it has to be revealed. In other words, all you have to do is to open the windows of your enclosed room. The light is already there. This is called inner renunciation. So the name of the chapter, and therefore the central idea of inner renunciation was presented in number 13 to 21. That's what we talked about it. Now, in verses number 22 and 23, only in 2 verses, because the same themes get presented again and again in different parts of the Gita. So it's not as though, you only do it once and then it never comes. No. It gets reinforced from time to time at various places. Here, however, the 2 verses number 22 and 23 reveal the sadhana for this jnana. Or in the example that I gave, it's just, that example that supposing you say, it's so dark in here. So dark in here. And he said, no, it's not dark, it's all sunlight. He says, no, there's complete darkness. And then says, just open the windows. How do I open the windows? Which window should I open? I mean, that's a foolish example. But the way to open the windows to let the light in is what is called sadhana. Sadhana. This is presented in verse number 22 and 23. Then after just a look ahead, then after verses number 24, Sri Krishna goes back to jnana phalam. So, in order to encourage you that knowledge has some results that are amazing, then there has to be talked about. Because imagine that example that Swami Maheshananji gave, where you're tired and you don't want to have the courage to go on. And a person that knows that there's only 2 miles left, he says, you're not going to believe this. You just stay on for 2 more miles. We're going to be at the temple. There's an evening puja. We're right on time. And after the puja, they're going to serve dinner. So our hunger will also be quenched. And we'll be able to stay there. And so come on, keep going. Don't give up. And the other person says, are you sure? Because I don't see any temples around. He says, I know, there's 2 miles left. So the number 22 and 23 is the exhortation to say, don't give up, keep going. And then afterwards, it's the description of what happens when you get there. So this is the structure. So now let's go to verse number 22. Yehi samsparshja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate adyantavantah kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha. Okay. So let's just look at the word meanings first and then we will go into the explanation. Hey Kaunteya, Kuntiputra, O Arjuna, te bhogaha, those pleasures that you seek through various means, the manufactured ananda, those bhogas, ye samsparshajaha, hi dukkha yonaya evaha. So those are born out of some kind of a contact. Some contact they are born. They will describe what the contact means in a minute. But he says, please see that those are resulting from an action. And in fact are have a seed of problems with them anyway. Even when they are giving you some sukham, they have a seed of dukkham along with it. Please see this. So be a pandita. In fact, there is a very beautiful saying which is applicable here. He says, what does it say? I just had it in a minute. Now I have just exact thing this way. Yes. Beautiful. It says, dosha darshanam pandita lakshanam. Beautiful saying. Dosha darshanam pandita lakshanam means that the definition of wisdom, pandita here means, panda means jnanam, not our pandit from the local temples. They do but they are not knowers of Atma or anything like that. So pandita here means one who, in general, means that anyone who's an informed person. Let's just look at it that way. A wise person. The very nature of a wisdom is to understand defects in different things. Defects in different things. It's called dosha darshanam pandita lakshanam. Because if you are a child, relatively inexperienced, you have no idea what it is. Like, so for example, supposing you have diabetes, then if a birthday cake is given to you which is very sweet, and if you don't know that sweetness exacerbates diabetes, you are not a panditam. What a panditam will means is okay, I'll just have a small piece, just so that this is what happened to one of my relatives. Had a 6-year-old birthday yesterday, and so they had a cake and so on and so forth. And so I looked upon the cake differently than someone else. They can say, oh, just give me the biggest piece there is, with lots of cream on it and so on. And instead, in that case, I was the panditam. And I said, no, there is a problem in here. I cannot do this. If I can digress, in fact, let me point out something else that I recently read from Swami Maheshanandji, which is beautiful. This is kind of an extreme thing, but look at it. It's the same. So samsasparsha bhogaha dukkha yona yaha evate. So the objects of the world are called vishaya. So I wish I could write it down on something. I think I'm going to look for some way to transport my handwriting onto this so you can see it in Devanagari. But Vishaya is the Sanskritam for objects called Vishaya. Vishaya can be looked in two ways. Many ways. One is these just outside objects. But the outside objects have a way of engaging with you to limit you. In fact, so this is what he says, if we go back to verse number 21, Bahya sparshesu asaktatma. The one who is not totally involved with outside things. Vishaya by themselves don't bind you. but they have a tendency of binding you because of your attitude. So the word Vishaya means Badnoti, the one that bind you are called Vishaya. So this is one way to look at Vishaya. Now are you ready for a more drastic definition of Vishaya? Swami Maheshananji pointed out. He said the word Vishaya contains Visha. Visha means poison. Poison. And so in fact, Vishaya all have a poison in them. How? What do you mean by they have a poison in them? And Swami Maheshananji pointed this out. He says, supposing you are, you are looking at some sweetmeats, some cakes or something like this. So now, in the case of the sweets for a diabetic person, it is not extreme poison. It's not as though you will die by just eating it. But there are things that have poison in them, but you don't know it. So, some of these Russian things where they're poisoning their, so they have nerve gases and so on and so forth. I can imagine them. They can putting some poison in some of their people who have done wrong to them, even though they live in UK and so on and so forth. The moment you eat it, you are going to die. This is called Vishaya from an extreme standpoint, called Visha. Swami Maheshananji says, look at it this way. Do you know how many times you have died? Lots of cases. You cannot even count the number of times you have died. And died meaning again and again coming back to the same situation. Different bodies, different minds, different genders, different situations, again and again. And you know what kills you? Swami Maheshanji says, Vishaya. Asakta Vishaya means that we make the same mistake over and over again. We think that outside things are very important for me. And we do the bhogas for them. And what results is death at the end of that. Slow death in some cases, but eventual death. Again, we don't learn. We are born again into some other place. Same thing. Beautiful explanation of the word Vishaya, with a wish. He says, but on the other hand, if you are wise about it, then you have a different attitude. This is what is being given in here. Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate. He says, you do not understand that in fact he says, please analyze that any occurrence which is born out of a connection will get disconnected. Here Swami Dayanandji used to say that. He says, you know something, please see this very well. In the end, the pleasure and pain are in perfect balance. What do you mean by that? He says there is a law that any outside thing that gives you some pleasure one day will give you pain. This is a law. And I think I've related this to you many times before, that when we had our granddaughters, and they gave us so much. I tell you, to be a grandparent is an experience, wonderful experience. So we had a friend she's an instructor in Foothill College, and so I used to go to the to the gym there. And there was this husband and wife that didn't have their own children, but they very close to a couple of children that lived right next door to them. So much so that she became the godmother of this girl. She was telling me a long time ago, he says, Vijay, you know what happened to me? I was so fond of this girl that I used to spend a lot of time with her and she used to love me. All of a sudden, one day, as I normally would, I called her, and she said, for the first time, she said, can I call you back later? She says, that crushed me. And she never called me back again. What I found was that they had their own friends, and their attitude towards me completely changed. So when I was telling her about my granddaughter, she says, please be very careful. This has actually happened already. Honestly, now we have a deep sense of disappointment because we don't spend enough time with them. And they've got their own interest. We thought they are intricately in love with us. No, doesn't happen. So Swami Dayanand used to say that whatever gives you fun now, please make sure that to anticipate the lack of fun will happen at some later time. So this is what is meant by dukkha yoni. He says all outside things have a seed of dukkha in them which will fructify at some point or the other. So yo hi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate